everybody. I know you've had a really, really good time, but it is time to move into the last stretch of the afternoon. Are you with me? Can you hear me? Yes! So have you had a good time so far today? How many of you have gotten one piece of information or inspiration that you're going to be able to use? Can I see some hands? Can I hear some noise? All right. So one of the things that is so important as we go through this experience today is to be able to begin to synthesize what's happening and move from awareness to action, right? And so as we come back together from the breakouts, what I want to invite you to do is just take a couple of minutes with the people you are sitting with and share a couple of highlights. So question number one for you to discuss at your table in 3 minutes or less is this question. From the breakout sessions that you attended, what's one thing that really stood out for you? From the breakout sessions you attended, what's one thing that really stood out for you? 3 minutes at your tables beginning now. When you get back to your regular assignment, your home, your school, your campus, what are you going to tell people about the symposium today? What are you going to share with others about the symposium, the short version? Because again, you only have 3 minutes to hear from everybody at your table. Please be ready.
So you're going to be giving the mic?
I'm going to hold the mic, and I can have one of you come in and
Yes, that would be yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So they'll be lined up basically over here, or they can be flanking as long as the person who's speaking is in this, like if you can see right there, like as long as they're in this frame, like I can move, that's not a problem. But as long as the person who has the mic is in, pretty much like between that pillar and that pillar, we'll be good.
So I will move more behind the podium so they can stand like this.
Perfect, absolutely. Huh?
1 minute remaining.
Oh boy, on the left is beginning. I don't know about the other one. I can't see. Just get up and go. Walk up to me.
30 seconds. 30 seconds remaining. Wow, that's a lot of value. You all are sharing some really cool stuff. I can feel the energy, even though I can't hear everything that all of you are saying. But what you have the opportunity to do just in the last 6 minutes is begin to synthesize what is happening today for you. And it's not over yet, but we're just giving you that chance to pull it together and begin to think about what is yours to do. So I would like 6 very brave and very quick volunteers to come up right here and line up in front of this side. 6 people, come on quickly, in 10 seconds or less. I need 6 people right here. So here's what I know. Now I do this all over the country, and I will tell you I have learned over the last 24 years that when people volunteer and they do not know what you're going to ask them to do, usually I have all day to find out that they tend to be, these volunteers represent folks who tend to be the most beautiful or handsome, the brightest, the most caring people in the room, and these are your superstars, so please recognize them. Oh yeah, the brother's like, yeah, that would be me, that would be me. All right, so my question for you, oh, I can't ask you the question, but yeah, my question for you is coming. And once you answer the question, if you would just move to this side and stay up here. Got it? Yes? Okay, the question is an easy one. As a result of being here today, what are you clear is yours to do? And you have to respond in like 20 to 30 seconds because that's all the time we have. So take a deep breath. Everybody breathe with them while they think. And then come over here one at a time and tell me, what is yours to do? Come over here, right here, because we want you on the camera. I'm going to hold the microphone, and Beth's going first. Tell everybody who you are and answer the question, what is yours to do?
Hi, my name is Beth. I'm a senior from Brandeis University. I think what is mine to do is continue connecting with people in this critical work that we're doing and reminding myself and others that I am not alone and that this work is very, very hard and it's tiresome, but it can also be done.
Woo, yes. And Beth did a great job of being under 30 seconds.
That's my thing too. Hello everyone, my name is Nye Macklin. I am also a senior from Brandeis University.
I think my next move is trying to see how I can make work regarding racial justice, fighting against oppressive systems, and fighting for racial justice on our campus more sustainable going forward.
Nice. Sustainability moving forward. This is like, yes, now we need superstar.
How y'all doing? My name is Dominique Smith, also known as Donald. I'm a graduate student at Texas A&M University in Commerce. To answer the second question, basically just being an inspiration for others, giving them that inspiration just to continue to pursue what they do and to never give up on it, because a lot of people, they start on their dream and they never finish it out. Basically, you should be able to always finish out your dreams.
Yes, thank you so much.
My name is Omar Wandera. I'm the Vice Principal of Leadership Public Schools. I came all the way here from California. A couple things. One, I need to do more. Two, what I learned, sometimes I came for students, but I actually learned some things for myself. I need to write. I need to write things down so that I can share the things that are in my head. So that's one of the things that I need to do.
Thank you. And I'm guessing that some of these folks are saying things that you know are yours to do, and the others of you, you're thinking about what you will do in addition to keep this momentum going.
I am Ashley McIver, and I'm with the Communities Foundation of Texas. Thank you. So I feel like what is mine to do is to continue to stay proximate to the conversation and to the needs of the community, and definitely to the voices like Beth and Nan. They were very inspiring. So it's continue to remind myself to, as I get older, it's evolving, and the perspectives are evolving. And so what it's mine to do is always to stay proximate to the issues and be a voice for those issues.
Hi, my name is Grace Garcia. I'm a senior at Harvard studying mechanical engineering, and I'm also here as a founding fellow of the Harvard Teacher Fellowship Program with Quan and Eric. As I'm thinking about what is mine to do, I think what's mine to do for now is to take baby steps, right? Not to get overwhelmed with all that's ahead of me. But one thing I learned for sure today is that, in presenting with Quan, is that a lot of the students that were here, all of them actually had much to say and have already been having these things in their heads and lots to offer. And so as I go into my first teaching experience in the fall, or actually in the summer, to kind of just let my students' voices guide me in knowing what is mine to do.
Thank you. So these 6 amazing people are brave and courageous as well as wise. And I just want you to, I want to acknowledge them first before I ask you to acknowledge them again. And so for each one of you, I have a copy of your gifted award. And will you all acknowledge them, please? So your commitment to being here today speaks volumes for what you believe in and what you are choosing to do on your campuses nationwide. And it is so fabulous to have this opportunity to come together to do this. So I want to close with this, this particular quote that means a lot to me, and I hope you will appreciate it as well. Every day is a donation to eternity. Even an hour is a contribution to the future. Repeating, every day is a donation to eternity. even an hour, is a contribution to the future. This is an ancient Egyptian philosophy that I try to remember because, like you, every day I want to be involved in activities and programs that create more respect in the world. And I'm hoping that you will take that with you today. There is no one in North Texas who has contributed more to life expanding and experiencing a quality of life than Senator Royce West. Senator Royce was elected 24 years ago to serve in the, you're right, we've been around a long time. 24 years ago to serve in the Texas Senate, and he represents the citizens of North Texas very well. He has been recognized by numerous publications. I could probably read you a half page of single-space 10-point type recognitions, but he's been recognized as one of the most powerful politicians, as one of the strongest leaders, and of course, anyone who's been elected over and over again for that long of a time, you can be sure is making a positive impact in the world. I could tell you lots of things about what Senator Royce West has done and is doing, but specifically as it relates to education, he has been a trailblazer for programs and activities and services to ensure that our constituents who are from lower economic areas or disadvantaged areas have access to all that education can provide for their current life and for future generations. I can tell you more, but that would cut into his time for sharing with you. So if you are not familiar with Royce West, you are in for a treat in the next few minutes. And if you are familiar with Royce West, then I invite you to join me in welcoming him to the platform right now.
Let me say this. I'm not going to be here a long time. In fact, this is my second speech today. Now, in my other life, I'm a lawyer, okay? And I'm the managing partner of my law firm. And so I had a meeting this morning at the law firm. I had to get up and leave because I had to go do a speech at a high school. And then I went back to the office and I had to leave, but I ended up going to the wrong place and went out to the school. And then I had to come way out here. And then now I've got to go back to the law firm because they're waiting for me to come back to deal with some issues, some client issues. This is important to me. This is important to you. This issue of college and race. I have labored in the venue of education for some 23 years as a senator, serving on the Education Committee and Higher Education Committee. And yes, I was voted one of the 25 most powerful men in Texas politics. I get the magazine. I take it on to my wife. My wife is this tall. Her name is Carol. I said, Carol, look. I've been voted one of the 25 most powerful men in Texas politics. She said, yeah, go take out the trash. Keeping me very, very humble, okay? When I first became a senator, I don't know if some of you are familiar with Eddie Murphy, and there was a movie where Eddie Murphy went to Washington. I think Mr. Washington, or something like that. And he has to serve on all of the money committees, right? All right? So when I first got elected, I wanted to serve on a combination of the money committees and the social service committees. It was a governor by the name of Bob Bullock. Bob Bullock stood about this tall. And soaking wet probably weighed 118 pounds, okay? And in my heyday, I was probably about 205 pounds, buff, had a six-pack, now I got a... Anyway, I go to Austin, and I'm sitting across the desk from him because he didn't expect me to win, and I won on first ballot. And so he asked me what committees I want to serve. I never met this man. I said, I want to serve on state affairs, finance, economic development, and education. This man literally cursed me out. Okay? And I didn't really know how to react. He started using some 4-letter words that I hadn't heard in a long time. And then he said, get your big out of here. And I got up and got out of there. And frankly, didn't know what had happened. And so 2 or 3 weeks later, I get this call from him. He says, I'm putting you on Health and Human Service, Education, Higher Education, and Finance. Click. Hug him in the face. He knew 23, 24 years ago better than I did in terms of what area I needed to be in because of issues impacting the state of Texas. And I will forever be thankful for him, even though he's gone on, for his wisdom and guidance. Many of you have labored in the venue for some period of time, and you're doing it not for a job because of your passion. You have seen issues that are important, that need to be dealt with. Those same issues that you have heard over and over and over and over again that needs to be dealt with. But you still stay in the vineyard to do the work. And every now and then you see a modicum of success in terms of what you're doing and the efforts that you have taken in order to further your passion, your goal of making certain that the pipeline is open for everyone and that the best and brightest, those that can least afford it, get an opportunity to be successful and get an opportunity to get into a great school and get an education. And when you see that student walk across the stage, you smile. When you see that student get accepted, you as an admission officer may go out on the limb. You know what I'm talking about. That student is accepted. You see the expression on that student's face. You see the tears of joy of a parent, of a guardian, of a student. It makes you feel good inside. When you see that student walk across the stage, it makes you feel better. When you see, though, a student that has all of the ability to be successful, shunned, turned away just because of the color of her skin, I'm pretty certain that upsets you. And we continually have this conversation about race in college. I can recall when we had the Fisher decision, Outwood decision, in the state of Texas, we were able to use race as a factor. And many of us in the legislature had to scramble to see whether or not we could find a proxy for race to ensure that students of color still had an opportunity. I can recall, well, hold on, how much time do I have? 5. Okay. I can recall. I can recall. Well, I got 5, but I have the microphone. Okay.
10 minutes.
I can recall being on the floor of the Senate of Texas when a young lady, McCombs Business School is a business school at the University of Texas, one of the top business schools in the country, African-American female. She was the speaker for the graduation ceremony for that particular school. She applied for the MBA program and couldn't get in. But she's the speaker for the graduation. That same young lady applied to Wharton. Y'all familiar with Wharton? Yes, sir. And got in. Now she could get into Wharton, but couldn't get into UT. What was the reason behind it? And what they told me is that she didn't have the test scores necessary. She could get into Wharton, but she couldn't get into UT. And frankly, I was so perturbed, that I got on the Senate floor and called UTF I said, you can come into my district. You can recruit the best point guard, the best linebacker, running back, but you can't recruit a student who wants to be an engineer, a teacher, a lawyer, whatever the case may be. And so I said, I tell you what, UT, I will give you linebackers if you give me some scholarships for students who want to be in your business school. The point I'm making is this. That was then, and this is now. We were able to put in place a concept called the top 10%. And it's been somewhat mixed reviews, but the fact is that any child, whether they're in a traditional public school, a charter school that's in the top 10%, gets an opportunity to go to any school in the state of Texas. And that's because of the hard work that many of us did. It's race neutral. It's about whether or not that student is able to achieve and be in the top 10% in the schools that they go to within their particular environment. It's worked. Now, top 7% at UT. The point I'm making is that we've had a lot of programs that have been put in place in order to deal with the race issue. Many people said when President Obama was elected, you know, that was the end of racism. Yeah, right. Okay. I could go on and on. But I wanted to make certain that I came back here this evening and say thank you for being here. Hopefully you've got some best practices that you can take back to your college campus, you can take back to your school in order to make certain that the students that you're serving, whether they're from low socioeconomic class or whether they just happen to be students, you'll be able to use in order to make certain that they get an opportunity to get an education. Students that are here, you've got to make certain that you understand and appreciate, especially those that were at Hampton Prep. You've got a real education when you went to A&M. An education that you received was one that some people, just because of the color of your skin, will, how should I say it, call you out. And some people, as a result of someone calling you out because of the color of your skin, will stand up for you. And the point is that we've got to make certain these students understand that just because someone of an opposite ethnic group, race, says something ugly towards you, it may not be because they are racist, sexist, or whatever the case may be. It may be because they just don't like you. It may be because of your personality. And you've got to be able to know the difference between the two. And so I say, in closing, even though I have a lot I can tell you, thank you for being here. Thank you for what you're doing. I wish you Godspeed. Make certain the students understand that the only thing that's permanent in life is change, and that they will undergo a great deal of change over the course of their journey through the educational maze. And hopefully as they go through that odyssey of getting educated, that they'll understand that education is not just in the classroom, but it's obviously throughout the entire academic institution. And that hopefully they'll become well-rounded and end up doing the things that we want them to do, and that's being citizens of this great country, the country where we call the United States. Thank you very much.
All right, hey there, everybody. Some hey, no? All right. My name is Peyton Head. I am a senior studying political science and black studies at the University of Missouri. And I have just completed my term as student body president during a very tumultuous time in our university's history and our nation's history as well. So it really is an honor and a privilege to be with you all today, especially seeing so many students that look like myself who are out here working hard to take on the world. So I want to talk to you all a little bit about some of the things that we were able to accomplish at Mizzou and some of the things that inspired the movement. So working with social justice and race relations and diversity and inclusion was something that I had been passionate about ever since I stepped foot on campus. because I was a student from the south side of Chicago, which is a predominantly black community. I stepped foot all the way to the University of Missouri's campus, and at first I wasn't sure if I should go there. I had a choice between an HBCU down south, and they still offered me my scholarship even after everything went down. But I followed my sister there because I felt like there was something that told me that I needed to be at Mizzou. So the first year, it was a little difficult because I was trying to acclimate to the campus culture. I was trying to figure out what my place would look like. So I joined every single organization there was so that I could feel included. I was even a member of the Asian American Association. Met some of my best friends, even my roommate. I'm going to go visit her in Korea this summer. I was a member of the Hispanic American Leadership Organization, and any and every single organization that was about love for Mizzou. I'm a tour guide as well. That was me. But I remember my sophomore year, as I was walking through campus, on Greektown specifically, I remember some young men on the back of a pickup truck, fraternity gentlemen, who yelled the N-word at me over and over and over again. And honestly, at this point I was devastated because I didn't know what to do. Being from my community, which was all black, I was used to, maybe different jokes and stuff like that, but I was never used to being called the N-word by a white person in my face. That was the first time that I had experienced that. And so I had two choices. I decided, I was going to figure it out. Like, was I going to transfer from Mizzou and go down south, or was I going to stay at Mizzou and try to make the most of the situation? And so I decided to stay at Mizzou because I wanted to be able to change it, to create it to be a community that's more equitable for all people. Because I said if I just run away from the issues are still going to be there. Because that's exactly what I was trying to do. I said, I could just go someplace else, where I do feel welcome and included. And I think the solidarity that's come around the nation during our difficult times at Mizzou has shown that the issue that we have at Mizzou is not single and isolated. It's around the nation. It's a problem that our nation has yet to deal with, but we're starting to, which is really, really good. So I got involved with different organizations, our Social Justice Committee and our Diversity Peer Educator Group, and I got to go to different organizations and educate them and have difficult dialogues about diversity. And then I decided to get more involved within student government. And as chair of the Social Justice Committee, we put in place a gender-neutral restroom mat for transgender students and advocated for different prayer spaces on campus. And all these different kind of initiatives that we were putting in place that we thought were really, really cool. And so then I said, we can do a lot. I can do a lot more as a student government president. Because a lot of times when you're doing the work of diversity and inclusion, as many of you all probably know, you're limited in resources. Whenever it is a priority, that's when you have the resources. When it's not a priority, you don't have the resources. But you have somebody in office to blame when everything goes down on campus. I know how it works. I decided that I was going to run for student body president, and I told one of my friends who I thought was my friend, and no, he wasn't. He told me that I wouldn't win because I was black, and that my running mate was black, because I wasn't in a Greek organization, and because I didn't identify as straight. And so all of these different things he was saying that I couldn't do, and I actually believed him. And for the entire summer, I moped around and I said, I'm not gonna do it. But my sister told me, you have to label yourself before the world labels you. And I'm a firm believer in believing in yourself and loving yourself for who you are. And that's one of the most radical things that you can do in this world. And so we decided to run for student body president and vice president. And we became the first black elected student leaders at Mizzou to be a double slate. We won by the highest voter turnout in the history of our university. And it was really because it wasn't, I think I even saw a lot of memes about myself, like, oh, has a 77% white student body, is homecoming king and student body president, and still cries racism. It wasn't necessarily the white students who all rallied behind us, but it was the students who weren't ever empowered and encouraged to vote before. So our Muslim Student Association, our Hispanic American students, our international students as well, they came out in record-breaking numbers to vote this time, because your voice really does matter when you put it to the ballot many times. I don't know how much in this election coming up, but but I think it's something important to realize as you all move forward. There's so much power in raising your voice. And so this time was a little differently. I was working on different initiatives with our administration, or at least I thought that we were working on initiatives. You know, they would nod every time I brought up an issue, like, oh, you know, our mental health resources are drastically underfunded. You know, students are being booked a month out to deal with their issues with counseling. We don't have a lot of people of color within the counseling center, so how are they, you know, relate to the experiences of different marginalized and minoritized students and the things that they face on this campus every single day? And they said, oh, we're working on it, we're working on it. So the fall of last year happens, and I remember walking through campus, and the same thing happened. Some guys on the back of a pickup truck yelled the N-word at me. And I remember being livid at the situation because I said, I've been working my butt off since I stepped foot on this campus to advocate and you know, elevate these issues to administrative levels so that we can do something about them. You're not gonna stop every single person, but I believe that universities are places of enlightenment. They're places that are created to cure ignorance. And so because of that, we have to be intentional about saying that we want not only our university to be inclusive and equitable, we want our nation and our world to look like that as well. You know, we cure cancer at universities. We do all of these amazing different things at universities all around our nation and our world. Why can't racism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia be something that we take a critical lens and look at as well? So after this incident, I posted to Facebook a rant. That's exactly what it was. I just thought I was, you know, posting a regular rant. People rant on Facebook all the time. And so I told, it was a call to action for Mizzou to wake up. It's saying that I, along with many other people, deal with this stuff on a daily basis. My friend who's transgender was walking through the streets of Columbia, Missouri, and was spit on because of her identity. My friends who are Muslim, who wear hijabs, a lot of times are called towel heads and terrorists as they walk through campus and they walk through downtown. These are different things that people deal with on a daily basis. And when I posted to Facebook, I didn't know that it was going to get as much attention as it did, but I looked up the next day and it had over 8,000 shares. And I was thinking, what have I done? I was simply just ranting about like making society a better place. But then I realized that there was a certain privilege that I had. The fact that if I posted something, if I said something with that voice, people would listen. And it's so important for us who are in positions of power or positions of leadership to speak up on the issues, and not just our own issues, but issues of all different people. Because I firmly believe that when we liberate the most oppressed, then we've liberated us all. And so, moving forward, you know, it took the university 6 days to respond to this incident. And I understand higher education is very tricky. You don't want to respond too quickly, you don't want to wait too late, there's different things, there's backlash that can happen, but 6 days had gone by, and students were fed up. Because this post has been put all around campus, and they said that if this is how we're going to deal with this incident related to the student body present here, what about the rest of the students here who don't have the privilege or the platform to stand behind a podium in a fancy suit with a big microphone to talk about, you know, the issues that I think are relevant? What about them? And so we saw the first demonstration of the year, which was called Racism Lives Here, which was right in the heart of campus, which was another call to action for our students, our faculty, our staff, and most importantly, our administration to wake up and acknowledge these issues for what they are. And it wasn't until the Washington Post kept blowing up the press office at the university that they pulled me out of class to help approve this letter that was supposed to be written by the chancellor when it was actually written by the vice chancellor of student affairs, administrative assistant. And I think that's what hurt the most, because I felt like I wasn't a priority. Like, I've given so much to the university, but, you know, where was the university in my time of need, or the time of need of the other students who deal with this stuff on a daily basis, which is so important. And so, you know, one thing led after another, and one thing that I talked about in my presentation today was the importance of being intentional about being intersectional in your leadership with collaboration. Intentional about being intersectional in your leadership. So for me, I identify as a Black queer man who is also in a Black Greek letter organization. So it was important for that community to rally behind me and say, you know, we're gonna support him, you know, but sometimes you find in different communities, especially communities of color, sometimes marginalized communities, we marginalize each other. You know, black masculinity oppresses not only LGBTQ identities within the black community, but also women, and we don't talk about those issues. And so I think one of the biggest things for me is for our students who are here today is to realize that your voice is so powerful. My brother told me about this, and I didn't believe him until I got to college. He said, being in college is one of the only places where you will be able to complain. When you get into the workforce, it gets a little different, and it gets a little trickier sometimes. And I didn't believe him until I actually started complaining. But I think it's so important for you all to love each other, but more importantly, to have enough love for yourself to respect other people by respecting yourself. And that's something that I felt like I wasn't told, but I had to kind of learn, because there was a time that I went through where I didn't exactly love myself or like myself nonetheless. And because of that, that allowed me to treat other people with hate and disrespect. And so keep that in mind as you all are moving forward. I think the other part of it too, and I'm gonna wrap up because I know I have 2 minutes left, is about Mizzou in general. It's the University of Missouri. It's my home. And I think one thing that's really important is that when you have a home, sometimes you gotta clean it up. You have to make it better. And I don't think that's something that MSNBC or CNN or any of the news channels and the New York Times, I don't think they did a good job of covering that. The fact that students were camping out on the quad, our football team striked because we love our university. And we want to make it better for the generations to come after us, because there were people before us who did the same thing. And so as you all are moving to, getting into college and you're worried about different experiences you may have, realize that wherever you're gonna go, you're gonna deal with adversity. But that adversity is gonna make you stronger in the long run. Because it's made me stronger. I remember at one time having the FBI blowing up my phone and having the police watching over my house as the death threats rolled in through my email and through my mailbox, even from alumni of the university saying that you're a horrible person, you've made all this up, you're a liar. And all kind of names outside the book. I experienced in that moment I felt like was the worst of America. But I also saw the best of it too. When we saw schools from all around the world, from Turkey, from Chile, from Canada, from all of the schools right here. Brandeis was one of them too, I got y'all there. But they stood in solidarity with us. And they said that, we too stand with Mizzou, because these are the same issues that we're dealing with in our world. And so I think it's important as you all move on to college to not be afraid to go to these places and be the change that you want to see, be the change that needs to be seen there. I remember one of my friends, and I promise I'll wrap it up soon, he ran for student government president at the University of Alabama and won. And I remember when I talked to him, I'm like, why the heck would you go to the University of Alabama as a black man? And then, okay, Zero, okay, all right, I'm almost done, I got you. He said, I did it because I wanted to be the change. And that's what he did. He was the first black student government president elected after 40 years. So you all have the power to make a difference. We just have to realize that our nation and this world is not perfect, but we're here and we're empowered to be able to make it more perfect. And maybe we'll get there, maybe we won't. But I think we at least have to try. And so as I close, I need a little audience participation. This is one of the solidarity chants that got us through everything at Mizzou, from the different demonstrations to crying on the quad, to praying on the quad, holding hands with each other. And so I want you all to repeat after me with passion, okay? It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to fight for our freedom.
It is our duty to win.
It is our duty to win.
We must love and support each other.
We must love and support each other.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
We have nothing to lose but our chains.
Thank you so much, everyone.